Hi everyone, my name is Emily Hancock and I work at the Main Library's tech team in Charleston County, South Carolina. Today I'll show you how to manage your email contacts. Beyond simplifying the process of emailing, it's helpful to have email contacts if you ever need to change phones, lose your SIM card, or even just want to view your email contacts as an address book that you can use anywhere that you can access your Gmail account. However, just like an address book, it requires constant maintenance to keep up your email contacts as contact information changes over time. Before we jump in, I'd like to take note of a few things. The first thing is that this presentation is organized such that sometimes you will see a gray background like this one, and it's got yellow text on it, and other times that gray background will have white text on it. The yellow text means that I'm going to introduce new big ideas or tasks, and then the white text indicates that I'll be introducing smaller or subtasks. Also, today I'll be using Gmail to do a live demonstration, but I'll also be referring to Outlook and Yahoo email accounts. I'll do this with just pictures, and then I've inserted little blue arrows for you to orient to features that I'm talking about. A third note is that today I'll be using a desktop, but you can manage your email contacts using iOS or Android devices. Finally, I will be referring to public elected officials and a nonprofit organization today. It doesn't mean that the library endorses any of these people or organizations. It just means that their contact information is in the public record and therefore very easy to find and plug into my demonstration today. Without further ado, let's jump in. The first thing that we'll talk about is how to access email contacts. Here, I'm already logged into my Gmail account, so that's actually step number one. But the second step would be to go over to the top right corner where there's this Google Apps box of dots. And if I click on that, and I can find contacts, which has a little person icon next to it and says contacts underneath. In Outlook, you'll find contacts on the left-hand column all the way at the bottom, and there's a little blue arrow pointing to a couple of people together. In Yahoo, you can find contacts on the right-hand side of the screen, and it's going to also have a little person icon. So now that we know how to get to our contacts, let's talk about how we put some contacts in there. There are two ways you can do this. One is to import a list of contacts that you have ready to go, and the other is to manually add contacts. The first way that we'll talk about is importing contacts. So in my Gmail account, you can see I've already got two contacts and they're in the center of the screen there. But what if I had a list that I'm just ready to plug into Gmail right now? Well, one way I could do that is to import that list. Over on the left-hand side of the screen, there is an import option. If I click there, I have a few different ways I can put things in. I can just select a file from CSV or from a vCard file. That's for you iOS users. And I'm going to select a file from my desktop today called My Contacts. And then I hit the import button. Now, it's not a perfect solution to adding contacts, but it does help at least get sort of the foot in the door. So you can see I've got an incomplete list here. Looks like last names and then email addresses. A couple of things to note here. At the top of the screen, there's this sort of bluish ribbon that says, now that you've imported, what do you like to look for duplicates or duplicate email contacts? I can choose to dismiss that or find duplicates. We'll actually come back to that later. And then also I want to call your attention to this little top left-hand corner here. It says imported on October 23rd, and then in parentheses the number 4. That just means that I've imported 4 contacts on October 23rd. And also that title there is going to serve as a label, which we'll also come back to later. But you can tell that it's a label because it's on the left-hand side here, just beneath labels. Outlook and Yahoo have similar importing contacts functions to Google Contacts. In Outlook, you'll simply go to the Manage menu in the top right corner and then select Import Contacts. And in Yahoo, you'll go to the Try Dot menu and then select Import from another account. If I want to add contacts manually in Gmail, I would click over in the top left corner to Create Contact. You see it drops down the option to create one contact, or you can create multiples. Today I'll just stick with one at a time. Once I click Create New Contact, I am prompted to enter fields like first name, last name, company, and job title. If I want, I can do Show More. And then I've got a whole host of options or fields to fill out. Today, I will fill out one that doesn't require a first or last name. I'll actually do a department. I'll do the tech team. And I'll make the company Charleston County Public Library. And then just below that, you can type in our email address and our phone number. If I wanted to, I could also add a street address. I can add a label here, birthday if you have that, website if there's an event, a relationship, and you can even make a custom field, which is handy. Once I'm done, I'll hit Save. And here it's showing me a preview of this contact that I've just added. Once I X out of that preview, you can see that that contact has now been added to this list, and it looks like it's going in alphabetical order, but you can change that. In Outlook, you can manually add a contact by going to the top left corner of your screen and clicking on New Contact. It does currently offer an option to create a list here, but that does not mean that that list will be saved into your contacts. In Yahoo, to manually enter a contact, you'll go to the bottom right of the screen and click Add a New Contact. Notably, you can only add one contact at a time in Yahoo, and it's the only one out of Outlook and Gmail and Yahoo that requires that the name fields be filled in. Next, we'll talk about all the ways that you can manage your email contacts. And before I go any further, I want to take note of a couple of ways that you can bring up the menus that I'm going to be talking about pretty much for the remainder of the video. The first way is to simply click on the name in the contact itself. So not the email address, because that's going to prompt you to send an email, but over to the left-hand side, the name. So that is one way to get to the menu that I'm talking about. And you can see there are a few buttons that mean I can do certain things here. Or another way is to go all the way to the right-hand side of the screen and then click on the little tri-dot menu here, or you can click on the pencil and that will open up your editor. These ways to bring up the menu only apply to Gmail. The first thing that we'll talk about is editing a contact's information. In Gmail, you can edit a contact's information by clicking on the name itself, or again, you can use the other option to get to the editing prompter. And then clicking on the little pencil icon. Here's one of the contacts that I imported today, which I can tell because it says up top, imported on October 23rd. And even though it wasn't a perfect way to get this contact information into Gmail, it still helped because it kept all of the extra things that it couldn't quite sort out as notes on the bottom of the screen here, sort of in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in this. And once I'm done, I can hit the Save button, which is in the right-hand corner. Just like when we manually added a contact, I get a little preview once I hit Save. And even though I didn't enter any of this information on the bottom half where it says Google Maps, it's actually pulling some of that metadata from Google itself. And so it's picked up that this organization is a nonprofit, and here's the address and the website. I'll go ahead and fill in the rest of this contact information so that it looks a little neater for the rest of our video. Outlook and Yahoo have similar ways to edit contacts. So in Outlook, which you can see on the left-hand side, there's that little pencil icon next to the words Edit Contact. And I've got to first click on the contact that I would like to edit in order to do that. And in Yahoo, I also need to click on the contact itself first, and then I'll click on that tri-dot menu, and then I'll be prompted to edit contact. The next thing that we'll talk about is merging contacts. In Gmail, merging occurs either manually or automatically. Even the automatic way requires your approval though. So over in the left-hand column of Gmail, there's this option to merge and fix. So let's say that I added a couple of email addresses or contact information that looked awfully similar. For an example, I'll just add my own contact information twice. Okay, so now I've added myself twice in here, and I've only had a slight difference between the two. In one, the name field does not have the middle initial, and in the other, the name field does have a middle initial. Otherwise, everything is the same. If I want to check if I have any contacts that might be eligible for merging, I can go over to the left-hand side of the screen and click Merge and Fix. Over on the right-hand side of the screen now, Gmail has picked up that these two contact information sets are very similar to each other. And it asks me, do I want to merge these? In this case, we'll say yeah. You can see I have merged the duplicates and there are no more to fix. Alternatively, I can choose to merge contacts manually. To do that, I would go back to my contacts, going on the left-hand side of the screen here, and say that I wanted to merge this contact here, Charleston County Public Library's tech team, with this contact here, the communications manager at Charleston County Public Library. I would click on the checkboxes, which turn blue on the left-hand side of the screen, and then that is going to prompt this little menu up at the top here, blue icons. One of these icons is an arrow that looks like it's coming together. If I hover over it, it says merge, and I can click merge. If I think I've made a mistake, though, I can go to the bottom of the screen and click undo. And it's a simple fix. Similar to Google Contacts, Outlook offers something called linking duplicate contacts. So that's a bit like merging in Google, but they just use the word link instead. So if you, in Outlook, go to Manage and then select Link Duplicate Contacts, that will offer this automatic way of vetting for anything that might be a duplicate of another contact. Or you can choose to link contacts manually by choosing them within your contacts list and then selecting link. Yahoo doesn't offer something called linking or merging, but instead it has what it calls an enhanced contacts feature. You can find this if you go to Settings, and then More Settings, and then Contacts. Enhancing contacts means that your Yahoo account will pick up on when some contact emails you and it appears as though that might be a duplicate. Then it will automatically, if that feature is enabled, merge or link those two contact information sets together. Again, you can either just choose to enable or disable that function. Next, we'll talk about favoriting contacts. This is a very beneficial feature if you want to, in your inbox, have emails that are received from certain people be displayed more prominently, and they'll be easier to find. In Gmail, favorites are indicated by a little star icon. So for example, if I wanted to make Amy Barch a favorite, I could click on her name, and then click on this little star here, sort of in the top right corner of this box. And once I do that, you can see now I've got starred contacts, one started at the top, and then below it, this contact is still listed in my normal list of contacts. So you'll see it twice on your contacts. Again, we see if you're using an Outlook email address, then you have got this little star icon and it says add to favorites. So you'll need to actually choose a contact to add to that favorite before you click on the star. And in Yahoo, there is no favorite option. Next, we'll talk about creating labels or lists. This is a very handy function to have if you find yourself needing to email a whole bunch of people over and over again, and rather than typing in all of their names every single time, you can just create a list or a label. So Gmail uses the term label, and that sort of acts as a list. There are two sort of main ways to do this. One is to click on the contact. So I can do that. I can click on the little checkbox here to the left. Say I want to create a label for all Charleston County Public Library contacts that I have. Then I can just check the little boxes to the left of those names. And then up above that, there's this sort of gift tag looking icon, I think. If you hover over it, it says Manage Labels, and we can click there, and I can create a label. So that label, I'll just call it CCPL for short, and I'll hit Save. The other thing that you can do is to drag a contact over into that label. So if I uncheck these, and if I want to add this contact to the CCPL label, I just click on it and you can see it pops up this little blue box here, and it knows that I want to add it to that label. I click and I just hover over CCPL and drop it in there. And the same contact can have multiple labels. So in a way, you can create multiple lists. In Outlook, you'll create a list by going to the top left corner of the screen and clicking on the drop-down arrow for New Contact, and that's when you'll be prompted to create a new contact list. And in Yahoo, you will be able to create a list by simply going to the Create List function and the little plus sign icon. Let's stick with Outlook just for a moment. I want to address something called groups that Outlook has. So groups is really similar to lists, but groups is better to use if you find that you need to coordinate with people beyond just email and you want to share things. To create a group in Outlook, it's similar to lists also in that you'll go to the New Contact drop-down arrow and then select Create a Group. You might hear people refer to groups in Outlook as contact groups, distribution groups, or distribution lists. And the terms that you use will just depend on what version of Outlook you're using. Next, let's talk about deleting and cleaning up your contacts. In Gmail, you can either delete or hide contacts. If you want to delete a contact, that is what it sounds like. It gets rid of it totally. To do that, I could click on the checkbox next to the name, and then up above, I can go to the try dot menu, and then I can hit delete. And then it gives you a second chance if you decide, oh, I didn't mean to do that. So I'll hit cancel here just for now. The other thing I can do, you might have seen, I'll go back to that try dot menu and I can hide from contacts. So hiding does not delete something, it just cleans it up from this list. So when I click hide, you'll see that that name disappears from this main contact screen, but it still remains on other lists. So, or labels, I should say, because we're using Gmail. So if I go back over to this CCPL label, which I created, there's that contact that I just hid. Now, if I did want to delete this, I could delete by going back to that try dot menu and hit delete. But it's not gone forever right away. Actually, I'll drag myself up on the screen just a little bit. And I will hit this little trash icon, which is at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And you can see that I have deleted this, and you can see even what time I did it. So if you think, oh, I didn't mean to get rid of that contact, then you have 30 days to change your mind about it. Otherwise, after that, Gmail will automatically totally get rid of the contacts that you've decided to delete. Outlook offers similar options. So you can see here there's a little trash can icon, again, indicating that you can delete something, or you can, instead of hiding, they have something called folders. So folders is a way for you to organize. It hides those contacts from your main view and it puts them in these folders. So you haven't gotten rid of them totally, but you just don't see them every time that you go into your email contacts. And to get a folder, you can click the blue button that says New Folder. In Yahoo, if I want to delete a contact, I first click on the contact itself, and then I go to the try dot menu and select Delete Contact. The next thing that we'll talk about is exporting your contacts. This is good to do if you want to see like a printable list of contact information, or if you need to share contact information with somebody else, this is a good thing to do as well. In Gmail, there is a button on the left-hand column on the side of the screen where it says export. And if you want to do that, then you just click it. And it offers you right up, it says, do you want to export all of your contacts, basically? I know I have 7, just 7 at this point. Or if I want to change the number of contacts or the kind of contacts that I export, I can click this little drop-down menu, and I can choose between starred contacts, frequently contacted contacts, or different labels. I'm just going to stick with all 7 for now. And I even have 3 options for file formats that they can be exported to. The first one is Google CSV, which CSV is comma separated values. This kind of file is good if you need to export contacts to plug into another Gmail account. The second option is Outlook CSV, and that's good if you need to export contacts into an Outlook account. And for you iOS people, the last option is to export as a vCard, so that can be easily uploaded into devices. Today, I will just stick with the top, Google CSV, and then I just hit the export button. And it has downloaded that file you can see on the bottom left-hand corner here. Similar to Google Contacts, Outlook offers a way to export your contacts by going to the Manage menu and then selecting Export Contacts. Or if you're using Yahoo, then you can go to that try-dot menu and then select Export to CSV file. The last thing we'll talk about is backing up and syncing contacts in Gmail for Android devices. So again, this only applies to Gmail and only on Android devices. If you're using an Android device and Gmail, not all of the contacts that come in on that device are registered as contacts in Google Contacts. You need to do that manually, or you can set it up to become an automatic process. To make this process automatic, you'll follow the 6 steps that I've got listed on the screen. The first is on this Android device that you have, go to Settings and then select Google and then Account Services, then Google Contacts Sync, also sync device contacts, and then finally you will automatically back up and sync device contacts, and you'll set that to on. If you want to later, you can turn this back off. Notably, this process only works for personal Gmail accounts. It does not work if you are using a Gmail account that is associated with an organization like a school or a workplace. Well, that wraps up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you ever have any questions about how to manage your email contacts, you can always call the tech team at 843-805-6885 or send us an email at techteam@ccpl.org. Thanks, and I'll see you at the library.